Welcome, everybody. I'm Marc David, founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, and here we are in the Psychology of Eating podcast. And I'm with Nikol today. Welcome, Nikol.
Hi, Marc.
Hi.
So, I'm very excited.
Good. Where are you geographically?
Geographically, I'm in Europe, in Croatia. It's a small country, but I've been following you for quite a time.
Oh, well, I'm so glad we're doing this. And if you could wave your magic wand and get whatever you wanted to get when it comes to food and body, tell me what that would look like for you.
Well, first of all, I would like to be in peace with food, especially with sugar. And with my body image, I would say that I'm quite a sensitive person. And the emotions are sometimes quite overwhelming. And then I think that sugar is kind of a friend to me. It numbs my feelings. I tend to binge eat. And honestly, I would like to lose weight, but up to the point that it's sustainable for me. And I also had problems with body image and accepting myself as a woman. And now, since I have a 2-year-old daughter, I just don't want her to take over my energy. And I would like to work on it.
Oh, well,
so it's a lot.
Good for you. Congratulations on having a 2-year-old daughter. How old are you, Nikol?
I'm 40.
You're 40.
Yes.
And how long have you had a concern around body image, would you say?
Around since I was 13. But my food problem started first, I would say, even when I was 11 years old. I always loved food, even when I was a little kid. But when I was 11, during the war here in Croatia, my parents sent me to Germany with my grandmother. And during these 6 months, I felt safe there. But I went to the school, everything was fine. But at the same time, I was very anxious and fearful that something would happen to my parents. And this is the point when I started to use sugar, especially sugar, but generally food, for comforting myself and to getting rid of my anxiety. And it was very hard because during the week I would go to school and I had a possibility only once per week to make a phone call. And during the rest of the time, I was really scared if they are still alive. So when I returned back, it was much easier for me. But then my teenagers started. And when I was 13, everything actually changed. I grew up from a child to be a young girl, and I just didn't have enough friends, I would say, or the post-war situation here was not that good, so we are not allowed to go out of the street, and I had just a couple of friends, and all the friendship relations changed to some kind of relations between girls and boys, and I was not ready for it. I was just not ready for it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how much weight do you want to lose?
Oh, around 20 kilograms.
Uh-huh. And have you been successful at any point in losing that weight?
Yeah, actually, I was twice already. When I was 20 and around 30, every 10 years, it seems that I lose around 20 to 25 kilos. And I would say that it's a healthy way because I was learning a lot about nutrition. I was doing maybe a lot of sport, maybe even too much, but it was a nice time for me and I felt very good. But I also noticed that people are treating me differently. When I'm thin, I get much more attention and they're just nicer to me. And when the situation in my life changes, when I feel lonely or isolated, then I tend to switch to the old habits concerning food.
Mm-hmm. So when you lost the weight when you were 30, how did you do it?
With a lot of sports. Even with 20 or with 30. With 20, it was the first time because I started to go to aerobics and fitness, and I really liked it. It wasn't some kind of torture. I danced a lot. I had new friends, and I learned about food and nutrition, and I was eating clean for a longer period of time and doing a lot of training. So it was not that bad. I was feeling good and I was motivated and it just felt natural.
Mm-hmm. So these days, what tends to cause you the most stress or anxiety such that you'd want to reach for sugar? Like, what is it that gets you anxious or worried?
It could be stress at work, or some kind of anxiety before some kind of a trip, usually a work trip or some working conference. Again, when I feel empty, isolated, or not understood, all strong emotions, I would say. When I'm feeling not powerful enough, when I don't feel supported, then I tend to use sugar.
Mm-hmm. And what would that look like when you say, okay, so these things happen, I'll tend to use sugar? Like, what kind of sugar, what kind of food, when would you do it? Certain time of day, how much?
It's usually in the afternoon when my sugar levels drop. Although I would say that I have a kind of good nutrition, normal breakfast and lunch, but when I'm in this state, I just binge. And I eat a lot of chocolate or cakes or cookies in this direction, and it numbs me. When I eat, I don't know, 200, 300 grams chocolate in a couple of minutes, I do not even notice that I consume so much, but I feel okay. It's like a drug when I eat it. I feel okay. I feel in peace, relieved. I forget about everything. It's just numbing and self-medicating. I know it's not okay, but it's my best mechanism so far.
Sure. So these days, are you working from home or do you go into the workplace?
Yeah, I'm working from my home office here, mostly.
Uh-huh. And that stress and anxiety can still happen. And, afternoon time comes and you can, go for chocolate or go for the sugar.
It's interesting, but I feel much less stressful since the coronavirus because I'm staying at home and there is not such a huge pressure put on me to have fulfill all the activities, to travel. I think it's even better for me. Mm-hmm. I teach, I write, I do my work, and I find it much more peaceful now. And I tend not to go in these polarities. I did a lot of work with your programs already. I tend not to switch from clean eating and training all the time into the other direction, to be completely out of order, to start eating sugar and then continue for a couple of days. So I'm much more soft to myself, I would say.
Yeah, good for you. So are you married?
Yes, I have a husband for 23 years.
Okay. And how does he feel about your eating? How does he feel about your body? Does he want you to lose
weight? He saw me when I was thinner, and when I'm bigger, he finds it okay. But he's a bit emotionally distant, and I know that he loves me. But sometimes I do not get this support from him that I would like. And he always tells me, if you would like yourself, and if you would love yourself, then other people would love you also. And I understand this, that you have to love yourself first, but a little bit of support would be of huge difference. Yeah.
What would that look like if you were getting more support from him? What do you think that would be?
At one hand, it would be more attention. We are not that intimate anymore. It's not that we are not anymore at all, but not that I would like even more. And when I'm thinner, I get the attention from other men, and I don't like it, actually. I want it from my husband and not from other men. So it's also a huge point.
Yeah. Does he know that you want this?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. But at the same time, he just doesn't feel, I don't think that it's so important for him. We get along very well, and we have a lot of projects, and we are very long time together, since my 17th year. And I love him and appreciate him, and he is a great husband. But at the same time, I just feel I need something that I feel more feminine, a little bit more support, a little bit more attention would be great.
Yes, understood. Mm-hmm. So tell me what you do for work.
I'm a professor at a law university.
So are you a lawyer?
Well, you can say so. Actually, I do not practice law because we are not allowed to. When you teach here, then you're allowed only to teach and to be a scientist or to write scientific work, not to practice.
Yes. And I know work can be stressful. Do you like it overall? Are you glad that you're doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I love working with my students. I love the teachings. This part is great, but everything else, the situation in the institution is not that good. And this scientific work, I'm in a field that actually I wouldn't like to. I would choose something else, but some circumstances brought me here where I'm now. So I like this job, but in some kind of other field would be better for me because I'm a very creative person, and I think that as a lawyer, it's not possible to live it out.
Do you have help with raising your daughter in terms of, family or friends?
Yes, a lot of help from my parents, although they are quite older, but they're taking care of her every day for a couple of hours, and then I pick her up. So it's a huge help. I don't know how I would do it without them.
Are there times when you notice certain weeks, certain days, certain months where you could say, wow, I don't need to reach for sugar so much? I feel pretty good about my eating.
Yeah, when I live the life that I like, I would say, during the time that I spent in other countries, I traveled a lot and I spent there for my PhD, and I spent there a lot of time, and I felt much better over there because the places were cosmopolitan, more open-minded. I felt much better under such circumstances than here. I just don't feel to be a part of an institution. I'm very individual, and I don't like it to be a part of institution that you just can't change, or it lasts a long time to change it.
Mm-hmm. So have you ever thought about making a job change or a career shift? Have you considered that? Is it even possible at this point for you?
Yeah, I thought about it. I'm very interested in psychology and maybe psychology of education. That is the thing that I really would like to learn a lot, and teaching my students how to think critically and how to develop some kind of emotional intelligence in the times where lawyers are usually taught to think just not outside the box, I would say. So this is the thing that I would like to, but at the moment, I'm not sure if I would manage it with a small child, but maybe I'm interested at least to go somewhere to get a scholarship. That would be great, and that would be the time that I would feel much better, I think.
Yes. Are you planning on having more children?
No. I think that I'm already older, not too old, but as with 40, I think I have, and it was not easy for me to get a child because I knew I was growing up with ovarian failure syndrome. So actually I knew about this diagnosis when I was around 20 years old, but I knew that it wasn't easy for me to get a child. So I think it's enough when I have a great and healthy child.
Yes. So where do you see yourself 10 years from now? What do you imagine will be? Who do you imagine you'll be when you're 50?
I would like to be an active mom, a very active mom, and someone who enjoys food in moderation. I would like to be free from this body image things that are in my mind, and just be at peace and be a role model for my girl. Because now I tend to skip some activities with her, for example, going to the beach, just because I'm not okay with my body image. And I think it's terrible. When she likes something, I would like to be a part of it and to be really a good role model. I don't think that I'm ready to transfer this energy to her.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, because oftentimes it's hard enough to change, some of these things. It's hard enough to transform one's body image, just sort of on your own when it's just about you, or maybe you're married and it's maybe about you and your partner. But when you become a parent, when you become a mom, it's easy for us to start to realize, oh, this is not just for me. I'm not growing as a person just for me, doing this for my child as well, because our children really do model after us, in a very unconscious way. And I don't say that for you to worry about it, because I think what's most important as a mother is not that you have to be perfect around having the best body image and not having any anxiety and not having any eating challenges. It's not that you need to be perfect. To me, it's just more important that you're a work in progress, meaning I'm working on myself, because that's what we all have to do anyway. Your girl's going to grow up and she's going to have to face her own challenges, and she's going to have to work on herself. So I want to say that, just so you don't get caught up in thinking that you are harming your child or that you're somehow a failure if you're not exactly where you want to be, so you're some perfect role model.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Meaning your ability to work on yourself in so many ways, that's enough. That's a lot. That's really good. That's a success. There's a lot of people who just don't know how to work on themselves, or they don't wish to, or it's too scary. You're doing your best there. So I just want to say that you're not harming your child in any way by working on yourself. Mm-hmm. Really, really. So with that said, I often think in terms, Nikol, of just life stages. And I often think of the age range of 40 to 50 as queen in training. Mm-hmm. Meaning you're not so 50 is when women become more of the queen archetype, men become more of the king archetype, meaning we can more rest in our royalty, we can rest in our self-acceptance. If you think of any queen that you've ever seen, like a good queen in any movie or any book that you've read or a TV show, imagine a good queen. She sits on her throne. She's not worried what other people think about her. Mm-hmm. She doesn't care even if they love her or they dislike her, because she knows who she is. So she's good with herself, and consequently, people are more magnetized to her. A good queen is giving her gifts. She's giving of herself, and a queen is no longer sitting around thinking, do you all approve of me? Do you approve of my body? Am I okay? Do you love me? Oops, I gained 2 kilos. Does that mean you don't like me anymore? So that's the younger stage. So it's completely understandable in this day and age. And honestly, for the last 60, 70 years, it's very understandable that human beings were being brought up in a world where you're getting the message from a young age that you have to look a certain way, especially the girls. You have to look a certain way in order to be loved and accepted. Mm-hmm. So that's a confusing message. And so what do young women do? They try to comply. They try to say, okay, if I have to look a certain way to be loved and accepted, then great. Let me diet. Let me exercise. Let me do what you want me to do. And then I'll look how you want me to look. But then also you start to notice, wow, okay, maybe I get more attention when I'm thinner. I don't like that. That's not right. So it's very conflicting. But you're at an age now when this is the time, I think, when you have more of the inner capability to start to turn this around. Mm-hmm. So you're at the beginning of a new place. I know you think that you're in the same old place that you've been in for many years, probably, and I just want to be free. And sometimes we just have to have a little bit more years behind us. We have to have a little bit more wisdom and more maturity and more life experience. So what I want to say is, now more than ever, I think you're ready to make this change. So part of it is you getting on board with that, you starting to believe that. So it's almost like I'm asking you, I'm suggesting to you that it's almost like pushing the restart button on your computer, and just restart, refresh. It's begin again. So to me, this is a new beginning, and it doesn't mean that you're going to just wake up tomorrow and start to love your body. But this is the time, now that you're a new mom and you know you want to be a good example for your daughter, and you know you want to be free, to start to do some different strategies than you've done in the past to help yourself be free. So freedom, I think, it's less of a destination and it's more of a practice. So I know of very few people, I don't know if I've ever met anybody who told me, yeah, one day I just woke up and I loved my body, when previously I didn't. I was free. Usually it's a process. Usually it's a journey. And I say that because a lot of times we think that we're not progressing because we're not there yet. And we're measuring our progress by where we're not. Oh, I'm not free yet. So part of it, I think, one practice, a way to practice freedom, is to really begin to notice how you talk to yourself. Really begin to notice how you talk to yourself and what that inner dialogue is, particularly around your body and how you feel about your body. Because you have an old program that runs. I don't like my body. I want to lose weight. This is not good enough. I'll feel better about myself. So that's the old you. And I'm not saying you shouldn't want to lose weight. What I'm saying is, I would love to see you start to love yourself more into that journey, as opposed to criticize yourself more into that journey. So, so much about being a good lawyer, I come from a family of lawyers, is you have to know how to be in a conversation. You have to know how to dialogue. You have to know how to use language. You have to use language very intentionally. So part of you transforming your body image is to start to notice your internal dialogue and catch yourself more. Mm-hmm. Like if your 2-year-old girl, if she started walking around the house and she started saying, "Mommy, I hate my body. Mommy, I don't like this part of my body. Mommy, I don't like that part of my body." My guess is that you would say something to her. You would say, "No, sweetie, you're beautiful." You would say, "No, sweetie, just the way you are, you're so lovable." You give her a big hug. You wouldn't let her say those words without correcting her. So this is your time. You're not only raising your daughter now, and you're not only being a good parent to her, I think you're also needing to be a good adult or mother or parent to yourself. How does this land for you when I say that? What are you thinking?
Very interesting and a great idea. I would have to be a parent to her and to me at the same time. Yeah, you're right. I'm very critical to myself. I'm a very perfectionist, and it doesn't serve me good. And I would never say something like that to her. So I would have to imagine that I'm telling it to her and tell it to me when I think bad about my body.
Yeah. You know, for a lot of people, Nikol, and I'm not saying this is for you, but just over the years, what I've seen is that for people who want to lose weight, or for people who have weight to lose, a lot of those people cannot really sustainably lose the weight until there's a certain inner shift that happens. Sometimes that's just the way life works. You know, yeah, sometimes you could just go on a diet, eat some different food, and then you lose the weight and you live happily ever after. But I don't really see that much. Sometimes we need to do the inner work that sets the stage for us to be able to transform our body. So what I mean is that the inner work for you, I think, is beginning to quiet the inner perfectionist and the inner critic. So those voices have less power. Right now, those voices have a lot of power, and you've grown accustomed to those voices. It's kind of like you're living with them. They're your second and third husbands. You know, they're just kind of hanging out with you when you're sitting around, when you're in bed, and only you can begin to shift those voices. But it's a practice. So as soon as you start to get critical of yourself, inside yourself, it's literally like catching yourself and go, oh, here's me, Nikol, I'm starting to be critical. Let me take a deep breath and let that go. Would I say those things to my daughter? Would I say those words out loud to my daughter? And if the answer is no, I wouldn't, then you need to start to find the place in you that can let go of that conversation in that moment. So in a way, it's like you creating an internal boundary. In a way,
it's a great tool.
Yes. Yeah. So it's really watching your mind, because you can do that because you have a trained mind, you have a sharp mind. And this is how you use a trained mind and a sharp mind to grow. You look at the places where your inner dialogue does not serve you. As soon as you go into perfectionism and criticism, what happens is you're going to end up in stress. It makes you stressed. It makes you anxious. And what do we do when we're stressed and anxious? We like to reach for food because it makes us less stressful and less anxious. So in a strange way, yes, I know that there's certain things that will naturally stress us all out. You know, being a mom, dealing with your job, dealing with everything that's going on in the world right now, whatever it is. So there's certain stresses. But what happens is the inner critic and the inner judge makes it even more stressful for you and makes food even more attractive. So it's a good thing to turn to food when you're feeling anxious and stressed. Better than turn to drugs, better than turning to alcohol, better than turning to violence, you know, better than turning to gambling away all your money. So as an unwanted habit goes, yeah, not so bad. And you're wanting to shift that. And what I'm saying is that one of the ways to shift that is to look at the stress that's in your life that's more optional, that's more self-created. Right now, judging yourself, criticizing yourself, and being perfectionist, I'm going to call that optional stress. You don't need that. It's not a real life stress. You invented that. Actually, you didn't invent it. The world invented it, and it finds a home inside of us. So that's a practice I would love to see you do. And again, you could always ask the question, catch yourself when you're speaking ill to yourself, and then say to yourself, would I speak those same words to my daughter?
Okay, I will use that tool for sure. Because you're right, when I lost my weight, I thought it will never happen to me again. Now I know I have the skills, I know how to do it, I know what to eat. But well, if you do not make a major shift on this deeper level, then it will not follow. It will not be sustainable. So I really need to work on myself that way.
Yes. And one thing that might be helpful for you, might be, I often say this to people that I work with when they've been trying to lose weight for a long time and it hasn't happened in a sustainable way, that it's often a good idea to call a timeout on weight loss. Not stop wanting to lose weight forever, just time out. And I'm going to take 3-4 months. I'm not going to focus on losing weight. I'm not going to focus on trying to diet. I'm not going to weigh myself. I'm just going to nourish myself with food. I'm going to try to feel good with food. And I'm going to pretend that this is the body that I'm going to have for the rest of my life. Even though your body's going to change, it's not the body you're going to have for the rest of your life, but pretend for 3 or 4 months, this is the body that I have. And can I just be with myself? It's no different than when you look at your daughter. You're not looking at her and thinking, oh my God, I can't wait till you lose more baby fat, or I can't wait till you're taller, or your legs are more this, or your stomach's more that. No, you look at her and you love her. And as she changes, you love her. And as she grows, you love her more. And if she has challenges, you love her through those challenges. So it is the same thing that you would do as a good mother to your daughter is the same way I would like to see you treat your body. Because from a very young age, you've been in the same pattern of thinking, well, if I could just change this, I'm going to feel better about myself. And here we are. And yeah, there's ways you feel better about yourself. But now if we take weight loss off the table just for a while, just for a little while, just a little vacation, just take it off the table, pretend it doesn't exist. Who would you be? How would you go about your day? Where would that energy that normally goes into worrying about food, worrying about weight, worrying about the sugar, where would that energy go? Mm-hmm. So you're not going to be able to do that perfectly, but it's a practice. Like every day you just try to focus on, oh, wait a second, my life is not about losing weight. My life is not about changing my body. Right now, my life is just about living. I wake up, I'm a parent, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I have my job, I have the people that I speak with, my parents, friends, whoever it is, and just see what life would feel like if you weren't trying to change yourself.
It's a nice thought, but at the same time, very scary thought for me, because I think I would lose control and just switch to the other side, to the dark side, and grab on chocolate or cookies when I do not control it. But probably you're right, because when I was pregnant, I thought, oh my God, now I'll be 100 kilograms, but it didn't happen. I ate everything and I didn't work out. I just walked, but it didn't happen. I got, of course, some weight, but it wasn't something terrible. I was more in peace with my body when I was pregnant than now, because sometimes it's okay when your body grows and now you're a mother, it's accepted. But when you're not pregnant, then you have some kind of huge pressure on you.
Right. So only you can take that pressure off. Nobody's putting that pressure on you.
Yeah.
Your parents are not putting the pressure. Your daughter doesn't care. Your husband's not putting, nobody puts that pressure on you but you. You know, the world used to do it, but now it doesn't matter anymore. You don't have to prove yourself to anybody. Who are you proving yourself to? So the fear that you mentioned, oh my goodness, if I do what you're telling me to do, I'm just going to let loose. I'm going to eat all this food. That's the very fear that you need to face. Because that fear is not real. It's imagined right now. Now, the truth is you already have days or you already have times during the day where you just do the things you say you wish you wouldn't do. You eat a bunch of sugar. So you already do that. Mm-hmm. And then you recover. And then you try to find balance again. So this is you learning how to find balance with yourself and trust yourself. So here's what it is. Trusting yourself doesn't mean I'm not going to overeat. I'm not going to binge eat. I'm not going to jump to the other side and all of a sudden eat all this food. So trusting yourself to me means, you know something? Even if I find myself binging on chocolate or sugar, I'm going to still love myself. I'm going to still stand by myself. I'm going to recover. I'm not going to abandon myself. I'm not going to hate on myself. And I'm going to forgive myself and start again. That's trust. So the people that love you the most are the people that stand by you. Right? The people that you trust the most, let's say, you know, parents, husband, they stand by you. They're not going to abandon you. So this is about you not abandoning you just because you overate or you binged on something. So it's learning that, oh, I can still love myself even though I wasn't perfect. Because right now, the way you have it wired, I will love myself if I'm perfect. I will love myself if I don't do any of these bad things with food. I will love myself if I lose weight. No, you could love yourself or even like yourself if you overeat or you binge eat. Yeah, you're working on this. You're a work in progress. You're still growing. You're still learning. You deserve a lot of space around that. You deserve lots of room for, you know, a setback and then return to your practice.
Okay, I'll try that.
So it doesn't sound sexy, Nikol, and yet really to me, that's the way that you get to the freedom that you want to have. You have to practice the freedom. Mm-hmm. It's literally, freedom is a feeling. It's a feeling. And it really doesn't depend on having a certain kind of body. There are women that weigh far more than you weigh, and they feel free. They don't care. And there's people that do care, and it's all different kinds. But what I'm saying is freedom is a feeling. So it's a feeling that you cultivate, that you create, that you practice creating more and more. And the more you practice it, the better you get at it. So that's why I say, let's let go of weight loss for a little while, because the weight loss is keeping you in a prison.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
And you can return to it when you truly feel ready. And that's up to you. There's no rules here, but I'm just suggesting let's take a decent number of months so you can get to know yourself. Like, who is Nikol if she's not focused on losing weight? And then it's kind of learning. You're relearning how to be an eater. Because really, if you're not trying to lose weight, then how are you gonna feed yourself? How are you gonna nourish yourself? What are you gonna eat? Yeah, sometimes you'll emotionally eat. That's understandable. Can you forgive yourself? Can you notice how eating too much sugar makes you feel and say, oh, okay, I noticed that feeling. Is that the feeling I want? And then it's also, I think, looking for other strategies that can help you when your stress temperature gets high. Mm-hmm. What else helps you relax when your stress temperature gets high?
Walking my dog, going into nature. Singing. I have a band now with my husband. I started sewing, even drawing. I'm quite creative. And then when I pick something up, then maybe this could work.
Yes. So all those things, and especially your creative side. Here's something I believe very strongly, that when it comes to eating challenges like binge eating or emotional eating or overeating, one of the great cures for that, one of the great remedies for that is to push the fast forward button on our own creativity. So instead of, I have to fight my binge eating, I have to fight my emotional eating. No, we often do those things because we need stress relief. We're not happy. And I've heard you say in this conversation that creativity is important for you. And the more you can bring creativity into your life, you feel good. And the more you feel good, the less you will need sugar or binge eating or overeating to make you feel good. So it's less about focusing on my problem of binge eating and more about focusing on flowering more as a woman and as a person.
Yeah, this is just a change of perspective.
Yes, it is. And I totally, as best I can, I really understand when you said at the beginning of the conversation, it would be so good if you can get more of the kind of intimacy that you want in your relationship and with your husband. And at the same time, right now, there's a place where life is just saying to you, okay, it's not exactly coming to you the way you want it. How can you give more of that to yourself? When you criticize or judge self, that's the opposite of being intimate. Mm-hmm. When you be perfectionist, that's the opposite of being intimate. When you're in your creative space, when you're doing things that make you feel good, that's intimate space. You're connecting more with your essence. So it's almost like life is sort of asking you right now to start to generate these things more from within.
Good idea. I'll try that.
So what are you thinking? How are you doing?
It was not easy for me because I felt quite vulnerable, but at the same time, you have to be vulnerable to make a step forward. But I like it very much that you gave me a really concrete tools, not just an explanation, but also some good tools that I can use and try to make something without the support of anyone else, that I can make on my own, and it can make a huge shift, I think.
Yes, it's so, another thing to do is to just make an inventory, make a list of everything in life that makes you feel good, that gives you some pleasure. Persons, places, things, thoughts, feelings, foods, music, TV show, I don't care what, everything that makes you feel good, being out in nature. And then look at that list and say, okay, what is it on this list that I can do every day? What is it that I do once a week? What is it that I do once a month? And that to me is a form of embodiment. Part of the reason that we want to have the body that we want to have, that we want to lose weight or have a different shape or have the body that we want, is because I say to myself, well, if I have the body I want, I'm going to feel better. I'll be in my body. I'll enjoy being in my body. When my body doesn't look the way I want it to look, I don't enjoy being in it. But when it looks the way I want it to look, then I enjoy it. Okay, I understand that. And there's a place where no matter what we weigh or what we look like, we can still enjoy being in the body. So the more you can practice and do the things that make you feel good to be alive, basically. And that's all the creative things. That's the dance, that's the music, that's the singing. The more you do that, the more you're in your body and the more you're enjoying your body. And I think the more we start to relax into our body, independent of weight, the easier it becomes to shift the body. To help it lose weight. Because the body's in a better state. We're not beating it over the head with a stick saying, you got to lose weight, body. You don't look the way I want you to look. It's just beginning at age 40 your new relationship with your body. It's just saying, okay, we're gonna push the refresh button, we're gonna push the restart button, and you're gonna begin again. You're not that 11-year-old girl anymore. You're not that 13-year-old girl. You're a woman, you're a mother, you're a wife, and you have more say in how you start to show up, especially for yourself.
Yes, I have to accept that. But I have the power to change it.
Yeah.
And I feel powerless sometimes.
Yeah. You know, I think for a lot of people, we begin at a certain age, our challenges around food and our challenges around body image. And, you know, the story that you told me that you were in a very, you know, it was a very scary circumstance. Your country's at war. Now you're in another country with, you know, grandparents, and you're worried about your parents. And you turn to food or you turn to sugar, and then you come back, and then, you know, just growing up is not easy. Being a 13-year-old is not easy. And there's a part of us that sometimes stays as that 11-year-old or that 13-year-old. So there's the part of you that's still that 13-year-old girl when you're eating. It just takes you back to that time. And that's why you being in the present moment and noticing your languaging, noticing how you talk to yourself, and reminding yourself that you're safe right now. You're actually safe. You're okay. Things aren't perfect. But you're actually okay. You're actually safe. Because there's a part of you that when you're reaching for food, you're feeling very unsafe, I think. So part of it is just reminding yourself, oh, I'm safe. I'm protected. I'm not in a life-threatening situation. I'm okay.
A lot of awareness.
Yes.
Yeah.
And awareness, it's a practice. Because it's easy sometimes for us to go to sleep and not be aware and not pay attention, because the old habits will automatically just do themselves. The old way of thinking, the old way of talking to ourselves, the old way of turning to food, it will automatically repeat because we've been doing it a long time. And that's pretty much, I think, the definition of an unwanted habit is something that's automatic, repetitive, and beneath consciousness, beneath our awareness. You don't have to think to yourself, oh, I want to have an unwanted sugar habit. No, it just does itself. So in order to change or transform a habit that's automatic and unconscious and repetitive, we have to introduce consciousness. We have to introduce awareness. So awareness is when you say to yourself, oh, listen to how I'm talking to me. Would I talk to my child the same way? So that's awareness. That's the voice of awareness, your voice of awareness talking to you. So it's like you're invoking that voice. Normally, the 13-year-old or the 11-year-old girl takes over when you reach for sugar. You're not a 40-year-old. I'm willing to bet in that moment you're not a 40-year-old, professor. You're an 11-year-old girl in that moment, and it's completely understandable. So then the practice is invoking the voice of the 40-year-old woman. Oh, I can do this different right now. And it takes time. It takes practice. It takes a little training. But I strongly believe that's how you get where you want to go.
I hope so. It's a mechanism that served me when I was a kid. It doesn't serve me anymore. And it won't go magically away and nobody will come and help me. Mm-hmm. That is a thing that I had to learn. I always thought something will happen. Somebody will lead me to the right way. But I have to do it from day to day. And to practice it, it's a huge difference to be aware of it.
Yes. It's self-ownership. Mm-hmm. The answers are not out there. And losing weight, it's constantly reminding yourself that losing weight is not going to make you more lovable. It's not going to make you a better person. You're already a great person. You're already lovable. You already have love in your life. You already have a good life. And it's an old belief that if I lose weight, something's going to change. So part of it is, again, spending a little bit of time, not dieting, and introducing your new self to yourself. Okay, so who am I going to be if I'm not focused on that? Just pretend that this is the body I'm going to have for the rest of my life. It's just a pretend.
Yes, that will be hard because I have two persons in me, I would say. The one wants to be thin because I felt much better when I was in a smaller body. At the same time, I have this other one that just sabotages it and said, but it's just not fair that people treat you differently when only when you're thinner or more attractive. So they're always at fight.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so then we call a ceasefire with that fight, meaning the voice that says, oh, it's not fair that people treat you better when you're thin. Yeah, you're right. It's not fair. There's a lot of unfair things in this world. That's just one of them. In fact, there's a lot worse things that are unfair than that. So yeah, you're absolutely 100% right. It's unfair. And who cares? If people want to evaluate you because of how you look, or what you weigh, those are not people you want in your life. Those are not people who are going to be your friends. Those are not the people that you want to surround yourself with. So it's actually good, to cross them off your list. Okay, you're that kind of person, not interested in you. So those people are letting you know that they don't belong in your queendom. And the part of you that wants to be thin, that, I feel better when I was thin. Yeah, and I felt better when I was 22 years old. I felt better. I had more energy. I was stronger. And we all had a time when we felt better. Some people feel better when they're drinking a lot of alcohol. Yeah, I really feel good when I have 4 glasses of wine. Okay. But if that's affecting you or if it's turning you into an alcoholic, we don't want to do that. So the feeling better part, in a way, it's something for you to consider really examining that. Because I feel better when I'm on vacation, but I can't live on vacation. we can all make lists of when I feel better when. So what happens is, if you say to yourself, well, I feel better when I'm thin, what we're really saying is, I don't feel good about myself right now. Mm-hmm. And I won't feel good about myself right now because I only feel better when I'm thin. And the reality is, there's probably been a lot of moments where you have felt really good at this weight. You have moments when you feel good about yourself, or something's happening and you feel good and you forget about your weight. So it's an affirmation of, I won't be happy at this weight because I was happier when I'm thin. People are happy at all weights. I have met people of all sizes and shapes that are either happy or sad or depressed or not. It doesn't matter. I don't know if you've ever met women who have like the supposed ideal or perfect body and they're not happy. There's a lot of them. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't guarantee you anything.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to address those voices and show you what a different voice looks like. Because those voices, when you let them habitually say their thing, those voices don't serve you. Mm-hmm. So it's just addressing those voices. Yeah, it's not fair that people treat you better. Some people treat you better when you're thin. Great. Life isn't always fair. And I don't like those people anyway. And I can feel good at any weight. I don't have to be some weight to feel good about myself. And that's a practice, once again. It's just trying that on as something very new. But that's how you get to freedom. Freedom doesn't mean I lose the weight. Freedom means I stop enslaving myself that I have to lose weight to be happy. Mm-hmm. Once you start to get to that place or close to it, easier to take care of your body. It's easier to eat in a good way. Because like I said, when we're criticizing and perfectionist, that's stressful, and we're going to want to turn to food. So, I think it's been a good conversation.
Yeah, it was very useful, especially the part that I'm the one who putting the stress on me and who is making me more stressful and anxious. I didn't think about it before, but you're completely right. And I'm very, very happy to start, to make fresh start and restart my personal computer.
It is a fresh start. It really is. And every day you can wake up and remind yourself of that. This is a fresh start in my relationship with my body and with food. And it's not going to be perfect because nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. So if you struggle, great. If you have setbacks, great. Continue to love yourself and forgive yourself and do the things that help you feel good about yourself. Be creative.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Your perspective was very useful, and I knew it would be, but I didn't expect all the things that I heard. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, I'm really glad we had this conversation, Nikol.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks
you so much, Marc.
Yeah. Thank you. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Always more to come, my friends. Take care.
Hey friends, we're so happy that you've joined us for another episode of The Psychology of Eating with Marc David. Are you loving these episodes? Then simply subscribe and you'll never miss an episode again. We'd also love it if you'd leave us a comment below so we can hear more about your own journey with food and body. And if you're curious about what we offer at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, including our internationally acclaimed coach certification training that's rooted in dynamic eating psychology and mind-body nutrition, please head on over to our website, psychologyofeating.com. Until next time, take care. And remember, having the body you want starts with loving the body you have.